Today we're going to learn about subtracting linear expressions. We worked on adding, now we're going to do subtracting. So today we're going to learn to subtract linear expressions using algebra tiles, which is a model, and to do it without the model by adding the opposite or the additive inverse. So let's look at example 1. First I'm going to show you on a model, and then I'll show you how to do it without the model. So let's take our model and model 6x plus 3. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 x's, and 3 1's. Now we have to subtract 2x plus 2. So let's cross out 2 x's and 2 1's. What's left? We have 4x plus 1, and that's our final answer. So now let's show you how to do it without using a model. Well, we start out with the quantity 6x plus 3, and we want to subtract 2x plus 2. Well, if you remember, when we're using integers, we can add the opposite. So, if we are going to add the opposite of this, the opposite of 2x is negative 2x, and the opposite of plus 2 is subtract 2. So now I've got 6x plus a negative 2x. Well, 6 minus 2 is 4x, and positive 3 and negative 2 is positive 1. I still come up with the same answer. Let's try another one. So here we have example 2. I'll model it, and then we'll solve it the other way. So let's start out with, we have 2x, and then minus 3, negative 1, negative 1, negative 1. That's 2x minus 3. And now we have to subtract an x. So let's cross out one of those. And we have to subtract negative 2. So negative 1, negative 2. What's left over? We have x and a negative 1. So that's our answer. So now let's do it without the model. We have 2x minus 3. Now remember, we're going to add the opposite of this. So if we're adding the opposite of x is negative x. The opposite of negative 2 is positive 2. So 2x plus a negative x is x. Negative 3 plus 2, remember we subtract the numbers and keep the sign in front of the bigger number. 3 minus 2 is 1, but the 3 is bigger. I still come up with the same answer. Let's look at our next example, example 3. I'll model it and then do it the other way. So we're going to start out with negative 2x. Negative x, negative x, and then we've got negative 4. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4. So now we have to subtract 2x. Well, there's no positive tiles because we're subtracting a positive 2x. So what we have to do is add 0 pairs. Well, a 0 pair is a negative x and a positive x, and a negative x and a positive x. So now what we can do is we can cross these off And what do we have left? We have negative 4x minus 4. So now I'm going to do that without the model. So let's start out with negative 2x minus 4. Now remember, we have to add the opposite. So if we add the opposite of positive 2x is negative 2x. So negative 2x plus negative 2x is negative 4x, and then we just bring that negative 4 down. Came up with the same answer either way. So now let's move on to example 4. I'm not going to model this time. I'm just going to do it without the model. So we start out with 6x plus 5. And now remember, we're going to add the opposite of this. So the opposite of 3x is negative 3x, and the opposite of plus 1 is minus 1. So 6x plus a negative 3x is 3x. Positive 5 and negative 1 is positive 4. And there's your final answer. So now let's go on to example 5. And I'm not going to use a model again, so I'm going to write negative 4x minus 7. Now remember, I have to add the opposite of this. So the opposite of negative 5x is positive 5x. And the opposite of negative 2 is positive 2. So now, negative 4x plus 5x, I subtract because my signs are opposite. 5 minus 4 is 1x, and it's positive because the 5 is bigger. Negative 7 plus 2, my signs are opposite, so I subtract. 7 minus 2 is 5, and I use the sign in front of the bigger number. So that's all you have to do. Complete your OYO problems. Make sure you've copied everything into your notes, and I'll see you in class on Monday or Tuesday. Have a nice weekend.